Hey YouTube, welcome to Dragon's Dojo Gaming. I'm Andrew Sellers, and tonight I'm bringing you here with my V-Series Eradicator deck profile. As I've said in one of my previous videos, Narukami's my favorite clan, and Eradicator is one of my favorite decks from the clan. And I'm about to show you how I've built my V-Series Eradicator deck. So, your standard starter, I've got the Eradicator guy as my starter. For grade 4s, I'm running 4 heal. I technically have the grade 3 heal in a different deck, but I'm just showing, if I were to play the deck in a card fight, I'd be using 2 copies of Blitz Knuckle Dragon with 2 copies of the Eradicator heal trigger. But Blitz Knuckles in my Vanquisher deck, and I just don't feel like pulling it out. Next up, 4 crit, 4 front, and 4 draws. As you all can see, I am playing the Rainbow triggered lineup in the deck. Next up, for grade 1s, I'm running 4 Eradicator Demolition Dragon. He's good because he binds stuff from the opponent's drop zone and gives you draws. And he's searchable with Nusku. Next up, one of the best cards in the deck, Nusku. Definitely the best grade 1 in this deck, because you're almost guaranteed, because you're literally guaranteed to search for an Eradicator unit in the deck, and it's just such a nice card. Next up, one of the few non-Eradicator units in this deck. 2 copies of Desert Gunner Gaibon. I run Gaibon at 2 because 2's all you really need in the deck, and if you ride Gauntlet Buster, if you ride Descendant on top of Gauntlet Buster while you've got Gaibon on board, you're gonna end up making it really, really hard for your opponent by using his skill to choose Descendant when it gets its restand. Next up, for grade 2s, I run 4 of this guy. Lightning Whip's good because he's a good first ride, he gives you draws, and he also gets rid of rear guard. He also binds rear guards, which is really good for the deck. Next up, for Spark Rain, I like him because he's a continuous attacker, and if possible, I can use him to bind stuff. It's a good card in the deck. Next up, I run 4 copies of Zuitan. Zuitan's a good draw extender, and another thing he's really good for is pumping him and either Gauntlet Buster or Descendant if you've ridden Descendant on top of Gauntlet Buster up. The most busted thing about this card is that if you've got him and Gaibon as 2 of your rear guards with Descendant on top of Gauntlet Buster, the turn you've ridden Descendant on top of Gauntlet Buster, you can bind rear guards, give both Descendant and Zuitan power before attacking, and if your opponent has a PG, you can restand Descendant and then use Gaibon's skill to make its second attack really, really hard to guard against. And finally, for grade 2s, 3 copies of Cho-Oh. I see most builds run him at 4. I personally like him at 3 because despite how good he is, he's a little counterblast counterblasty. I just prefer to run him at 3 in this build. He's a restand. He's a little counterblast heavy in the deck, but overall, I like Cho-Oh in the deck. Next up, for Gauntlet Buster. He is 100% the unit you want to ride first. If you manage to get him in your hand before riding him first. Because if you ride him first, you can ride Descendant on your next turn and use Descendant to mimic Gauntlet Buster's skill and make it hard for the opponent to guard against Descendant's attacks by riding him on top of Gauntlet. And finally, 4 copies of the big boss of the deck, Dragonic Descendant. I've pretty much already explained combos with him, Zuitan, Gaibon, and Gauntlet Buster earlier, so I don't really have to go into any more detail than that. So, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you all liked my deck build. And, please like and subscribe for more content. Have a good night, everybody.